Welcome to Speaking Wholistically, the podcast that explores the power of alternative medicine, natural healing, and homeopathic solutions to help you achieve true wellness. Each week, Dr. Jen and Amy G dive into the world of holistic health, discussing researched, time-tested remedies with expert insights from Dr. Jen, as well as real-life stories from patients to empower you to take charge of your health. So if you're ready to embrace a more natural path to wellness, let's start speaking holistically, because true healing begins from within. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Speaking Holistically. I'm your co-host, Amy G. I'm here with my co-host, Dr. Jen. She's our resident expert. Hi, Jen.
Hi.
Today, we're going to talk about, and let me apologize, the wind is gusting crazy, really, like blowing really hard. I don't know if you can hear it. It's anti-M weather, as I like to call it. It's very windy, so hopefully you can't hear it as we're recording. Today is Supplement Spotlight. This is my favorite. I have so many favorite supplements. They're like my little wellness children. So what supplement are you going to talk about today?
So we're going to talk about Cruciferous Complete.
Oh, yay. I love this one. Okay.
So it's from Standard Process. And once again, you'll hear a lot about this company and the supplements that they have. There's other companies that are great, but it's family owned. They've been around since 1929. I actually met the main farm manager, Christine. She's a 5th generation farmer. So they employ a lot of proven ways to farm without using chemicals and things of such nature.
I love that. That's amazing.
So the Cruciferous Complete is basically, it's going to be kale and Brussels sprouts. And cruciferous vegetables, even if you were to eat broccoli, they are basically natural aromatase inhibitors. And so I know that's a big mouthful full of words, but what
I think that's my Wi-Fi password. Yeah.
Probably it should be anyway, right? And people are like, what the heck is that? So this stuff is really, really great for a lot of reasons, but mainly I'm sure a lot of people who know the word aromatase inhibitor have had a bout with or know somebody who has had issues with female cancers. So generally, like tamoxifen is an aromatase inhibitor, and they will give that for 5 years post breast cancer in certain situations. And they do have some side effects and things of that nature, as any pharmaceutical will or can. But the Cruciferous Complete is something that, we should be eating cruciferous vegetables every day for the most part. Obviously There's people with GI issues that can't do that. And that's why this is a great product, because it's already broken down, powdered. You're not breaking down the cellulose, stuff like that. But what I think is interesting is 1,500 men per year are being diagnosed with breast cancer because of the amount of estrogen in our environments.
You said breast cancer?
Breast cancer, 1,500 men a year diagnosed with breast cancer.
Oh my God.
So there's genetic testing that we can do, and we'll talk about that in another podcast for sure, because it's cheap and easy, just like everything I like, right? Cheap and easy. So, and healthy, obviously. But making sure that there's not too much estrogen in the body. And sometimes the blood tests don't give a proper or accurate display of how much estrogen is in there. How many people have gotten their hormones tested and they're like, oh, they're normal. And you're like, I can assure you they're not normal, right?
I've been through that experience. Yes.
So checking what's in the blood versus what's in the tissue also can play a role into it. You can also have a genetic predisposition to having estrogen issues where the body doesn't break it down as efficiently as it could. We also live in a world that we have quite a bit of toxicity. And so there's plant-based estrogens, which are phytoestrogens. There's also xenoestrogens, which is XENO, and you can go look those up, but those are man-made chemicals that mimic estrogen and bind to our estrogen receptors. That's something that a lot of women are becoming more and more aware of, for sure, and especially with our kids. So the Cruciferous Complete is really helpful. Some women are taking DIM, and I always encourage, if they're going to do that, then they need to take some calcium diglucarate, which we'll get into on probably another podcast.
Wait, what is DIM, just for our listeners?
It basically acts as an aromatase inhibitor as well. It's a different product, and a lot of companies will have it, but for some of us, it's really extreme. So if I were to take it and not have enough calcium to glucarate, I'll get major headaches and migraines and stuff like that. So
Oh
it's
no.
not one that I can take without feeling awful, awful, awful. So the Cruciferous Complete is kind of a gentle way into that. And then if we needed to jump up and start really forcing the issue and pushing it, we could with that, but this tends to work pretty well. So I'll just give you an example. Even with kids, I mean, like I said, all this is kale and Brussels sprouts. Okay. So, I mean, you want your kids to be eating that anyway. It's not going to force estrogen out of the body. What it's going to do is be like, hey guys, there's just a little too much. Let's keep moving along. That sort of a thing. So it doesn't bind, as opposed to it being a pharmaceutical, which forces a physiological reaction. Now, there's a time and place for that for sure. Like, there's nothing wrong with pharmaceuticals in certain situations, right? You're in a car accident, your arm is severed, like probably pharmaceutical at that point is probably going to be life-saving, not a bad idea. But at the end of the day, if we can do something on a more natural side of things and do it gently so that the body can process it, do what it needs, give it the nutrients it needs so it can do what it needs to do, it's going to be maybe a better option.
Absolutely.
I've had quite a few children come in, especially girls, that are getting breast buds at 7 years old, 6 years old, 8 years old, 9 years old.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I had one the other day where she's like, she's starting to have body odor and she's 7. And I was like, let's look at this. So doing the Cruciferous Complete can help tremendously. I had a little girl years ago who was getting breast buds at 7, and the parent was like, oh my gosh, what do we do? And I said, honestly, give her 2 to 3 of these a day to start off with, and let's see how this goes. So they did, and in 2 weeks, her breast buds were completely gone. So
Wow.
everything was flat the way it's supposed to be with a 7-year-old. We don't need to go through early puberty, right? And so they continue to give it to her probably 1 to 2 a day, if that. So at 9, she started getting breast buds again. And I said, are you still giving her the Cruciferous Complete? They're like, well, not as consistently. And I was like, okay, well, you just may want to go on it. So here's the thing. They could give her 10 of them a day, honestly, because it's just vegetables at this point.
Yeah.
And it's not going to push or force a physiological reaction. It's just going to help her body with however it needs to. She went back on it. Breast buds once again went away. When they started forming in the next year or 2 or whatever it was, she was still taking this, but that's what her body is supposed to do at that age. So it wasn't stopping her body from producing those hormones. It was just saying, hey, there's too much in here. Let's not bind. We don't need to do this much, you know?
Yeah.
So she didn't get her first period until she was 14 and a half, but she had breasts prior to that. No pain, no clotting, no major issues, because there's not excess estrogen in her body creating these problems. So she didn't need to go on a birth control pill to control which is estrogen, you know, there's other ones too, but, you know, and progesterone there can be, and synthetic irons that can constipate and stuff like that. So yeah, if you need to force a physiological reaction, but if you can, like we talked about, you waiting until you get sick to try to manage something. Let's turn this around before we have a mess that we have to clean up. The parents are thrilled, and literally I tell patients, just eat. You don't have to eat kale, you don't have to eat Brussels sprouts, but just at least eat broccoli. Try to eat broccoli at least once a day if you can. If you can only do it every other day, that's better than nothing. But sometimes an extra supplement is a little bit easier to get into your kids or yourselves. And there's a lot of genetics too that can play a role into increased estrogen production in the body. So I do some genetic testing that's based on saliva swab, and we can see which genes are present that could potentially increase your risk of female cancers. It's like an owner's manual to your body, so that you can figure out exactly what to do and maybe take one of these a day to prevent an issue when you're 65 or whatever the situation is.
I love that. So picky eaters, kids that are picky eaters but will swallow pills, is this a good option for
It's a
parents?
great option. I think it's a great option for everybody. I mean, if you go look up xenoestrogens and you see where you're actually getting exposure to from your laundry detergent, from your makeup. I mean, I was reading an article where they're stating that women can absorb up to 5 pounds of makeup a year through their face. And I'm
I
thinking,
mean, that turns my stomach.
well, your liver has to process that, and your kidneys and everything else. And, you know, we're already exposed to so many carcinogens. And I'm not saying don't wear makeup, but, you know, make good choices and try to get things that are free of chemicals that are xenoestrogens, that are man-made chemicals that mimic or act like estrogen, because your body doesn't know the difference.
I love that. And I definitely encourage people to look them up. It is eye-opening, so brace yourself, and you're going to want to dump your, makeup drawer in the trash. So get ready. But
I
it's
did.
better to be.
I did
I know you
years ago.
did.
No, I was gaining 8 to 10 pounds a week, and I could not figure out what was going on because I do 18,000 steps a day. I drink mainly water. I eat really well. I don't eat a lot of refined carbohydrates. And I'm thinking, how am I gaining this much weight? And my husband's like, you're barely eating, And I'm like, I know. And so when I started looking this up, this was about 13 years ago, I guess. And I went into my bathroom and I started throwing everything away that had specific ingredients in it. And literally there was nothing left in my bathroom. I started over and started putting, straight oil on my face and stopped using conditioner in my hair. And my hair, up until this haircut was down to my waist, and I haven't used conditioner in.
Your hair is always amazing. Yeah.
So just making those little changes. At first, was it hard? Yes. The first day I put oil on my hands and my face, I'm thinking, what am I doing? We've all been told that it's going to create, pores that are filled with dirt and it's going to clog them and all these other things that we've been told. And, here I am at 50 and so far so
You
good.
look amazing. Yeah.
So,
You look amazing.
well, but it's taking care of yourself. So literally I threw all of those products away and the weight stopped climbing. So literally instantly, I'm like, okay, well, this is part of this. So, and this was well before some of the genetic testing and stuff came out. So that was more available for the average person.
I'm sure that little bit about the weight gain is going to be, a lot of women are going to go, what now? Let me back that up. Because I don't think anyone would even think of connecting those two things.
It was instant for me because I'm thinking there is nothing else I'm doing. There's nothing else I'm doing. So when I did that, it made all the difference in the world. I mean, I literally have gained almost 40 pounds in a month and I'm thinking, what is happening?
God, that's insane.
Yeah. And it wasn't like I just started doing these products, and they were natural products that were lotions and things like that, even natural makeup that were all supposed to be natural. And when I really got into it, I was like, holy cow. So, and I have a grandmother that had a double radical mastectomy and then died of bone cancer 25 years later, which was a metastasis from the breast cancer that she's told she was clear of. But when they went in and double checked the cells and the type, it was from her breast cancer that she had previously. So, you can have a genetic predisposition to something, but I'm sure as heck not going to flip the switch to make sure that gene flips itself on. So I'm going to do everything I can to prevent it. So that's what we do. So we always have this in the house. Do we take it every day? No, because we're like everybody else. But, it's there. We do take it periodically, all of us, because it's not a bad idea just to make sure that those estrogens stay under control.
Yeah, I love that. And I want to encourage people to do what I do. Since I started when I was living with you, actually. So whenever I was 23, I've had those, and I'm sorry, close your ears, older people, those old people pill sorters where I have one for the daytime and one for my nighttime supplements that I take. And I travel with it. It goes everywhere with me. If we go to dinner, I have my little container with just my nighttime supplements that goes tucked that in my purse. I'm taking that at dinner. So consistency is key, and those little things, getting those things organized. And if you want to take Cruciferous Complex every day, put that in your little old people pill sorter, which you can get at the drugstore, which is ironic. And just, be organized about it, and you'll be consistent, and you'll take it every day like you should if you want to.
Well, and really it's about finding something that works for you. So for me, I have my morning supplements on my bathroom counter, and I have my evening supplements on my nightstand, and there's always water there. So I have a mason jar of water. My husband, he's consistently inconsistent. So he doesn't want the old people pill sorters. And I'm like, why? They're great.
They are great.
You open it, you dump it, you're good. And he's like, great. No. So we found him one on Amazon, actually, and we'll put the link below. So if you all are interested in something fun, you can go get that. But it looks like a Ferris wheel. And there's a button on top, and he pushes it, and he loves the sound of it. It's like living with a 12-year-old some days. And so it dumps into this little cup, and that's what he takes. And he's like, it's so great. And then he can see whether he's taken the supplements because you can visibly see it. So there's a whole host of things, the way his brain works, for him to be able to do that. So that works for him. For me, I'd be like, oh, it's sitting out, I have to dust it. And actually this one, you can actually attach to the inside of your cabinet door. It's not that heavy. So when you open the door, it's right there. So it can sit out of the way, which if that were there, he'd never see it. It would never happen. So it gets to sit out. And then I
It
can
gets to
use
sit out
I
and
can
be
use my
dusted.
Norwex cloth and clean it off, you know?
I love that though. But you do have to do something that works for you. I love the organization of having my daily morning and my evening ones in separate old people pill sorters. But I love that. So yeah, I'm gonna look at that link. I haven't heard of that. So I think that's cool. And maybe for kids that would be fun too.
It's like old people Vegas. Yay!
It's the supplement. It's the supplement slot machine. Let's pull that.
Seriously, he loves the sound of it. I'm like, whatever it takes, dude. Just make sure.
Seriously, whatever it takes, whatever works for you. Absolutely.
Yeah, I have some parents that put everything on a lazy Susan in the middle of their dining room table. So at dinner time, they take their supplements and they're good to go. So however you have to figure it out. Some people leave it at the office, and I'm like, look, if you take it at the office and you're not consistent taking it at home, then so what? You don't take them for 2 days on the weekend. It's not the end of the world. But if you're getting 5 days in consistently and then take your evening stuff before you leave work, I mean, it's not a bad gig. Just figuring out what works for you for sure.
Yeah. Where can you put it in your house or at work where you're going to see it every day and take it? So, and yeah,
Exactly.
whatever vessel that is, whether it's a supplement carousel or an old people pill sorter, you have options. So this was great. Thank you so much. We'll put the links in there, especially for that fun little pill carousel. I love that. I want to check that out. And yeah, this was great. Thank you, Dr. Jen.
Thanks, Amy.
Appreciate your knowledge as always. And thanks everybody for listening. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That wraps up another episode of Speaking Wholistically. Thank you for listening. We hope today's conversation gave you new insights and inspiration to take charge of your health. If you enjoyed this episode and want to hear more, be sure and join the Speaking Wholistically school community by clicking the link in the show notes. There, you'll get access to daily podcast episodes, weekly live Q&As, educational content, and so much more. You can also connect with us on our Facebook page, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until next time, be well, stay curious, and keep speaking holistically.